Episode 25, Spyhog. So, a spy hedgehog? Gotta be about Chuck. Chuck, over at the train station, presses a button and goes up the stairs, and Snively possibly sees him, getting suspicious. Chuck puts a disc in his chest, and he lies to Snively that there was a problem and he fixed it. Now, I'm guessing this would foreshadow him losing his free will, right? Sonic goes to Chuck, bringing him a chili dog, which surprisingly he can eat perfectly fine. Good. He was turned into a robot. Like, that shouldn't mean that his digestive system goes away. It would have been turned into robot too. This makes a lot more sense than in the comic. He's acting so cheerful, which feels foreboding. After Sonic wishes he would just come back to Knothole instead of risking being caught, he's told to give the disc to Sally. Snively's listened into by Chuck because Chuck bugged his room, and Snively reveals to Chuck's surprise that the fuel pod is going tomorrow. Antoine compliments Sally's appearance, and a carrier pigeon tells Sally with a letter that they have to be ready at dawn tomorrow. Sonic gets up to a flying machine, standing on it talking, wasting time and risking being apprehended by them. Does he want to get kidnapped? What are the robots waiting for? He takes off and lures the robots away from his friends, who crawl out of the sewer grate. The heroes stick to the bottom of the floating machine, but Sally's magnetic thing malfunctions, so Antoine gets to be useful by grabbing her to keep her from falling to her death, although I'm sure that anybody else could have done the same thing if they were right next to her. Snively is asked where the other guards are, and since they're pursuing Sonic, Robotnik figures out it's a diversion and says to recall the guards. Sonic is annoyed, worries about Sally, and boosts into the sewer grate. The heroes get surrounded by robots, and fortunately Sonic comes out of the sewers to save them. Due to the sheer frequency that the heroes are succeeding at missions, Robotnik complains that it's as if the heroes know their every move, and figures out that he has a spy. It's a nice character moment that, well, one, he's smart enough to figure this out, but two, he turns off Snively's communication so that he can't tell him he's right his suspicions first. Sally tells Antoine that he was brave today, I guess because he saved her, and he holds her hand. She kisses his cheek to thank him for the rescue. I wish he fell into the water instead of forwards. They missed some slapstick potential there. Snively and Robotnik put things over their mouths, which I can only assume is to prevent Chuck from hearing them. But why would it? Their voices aren't totally muffled, they're not speaking to each other telepathically. Rotor says he modified the engine of a machine he found from the Great Swamp. Then he shows them one of Robotnik's security transponders, letting Sally and them go anywhere. This feels rushed. He found all of these things off screen? Really? Couldn't Rotor have made these and been useful as an engineer? When they find Chuck's bug, they do something with it to plot against Chuck. I guess they're expecting him to go retrieve it and then he'll be captured. But why? Why would he bother going back to it after he planted it? Another question, why doesn't Robotnik's entire base have security cameras all over that would have caught Chuck a long time ago? Why doesn't Robotropolis? So when you think about it, the whole Chuck being a spy thing falls apart because he should have been caught instantly if Robotnik was so smart. Sonic complains that the headphones aren't working, and Chuck says it's a bug malfunction. Yeah, because those happen all the time, so he's just so, oh, of course it happened. He says he's going to Robotnik's warehouse, saying he likes using one of his own bugs to spy on him. Nicole downloads plans for Sally. Bunny wants to leave because this place makes even her cowardly, and Sally gets Robotnik's daily operations files. She finds out from that Robotnik's onto Chuck's bug. Why would he type that down? Wouldn't he just, like, talk about it with Snively, and that's it? Why would he risk anyone finding out? This is so overly convenient. After Antoine wastes time bragging, which again he shouldn't bother doing, Rotor gets a message about Chuck. Antoine insists that he'll go to warn Chuck, and Rotor just lets him! Why would you ever rely on him? Of course he's gonna screw up. What an idiot plot! I don't know, maybe they thought that if they gave Chuck a phone, Robotnik would intercept his transmission and find him out right away. Not even a walkie-talkie? This could all be solved if they could just call Chuck. But they never explain why they can't. He could have calling technology in his mind and it could be encrypted. Antoine's scared of getting caught by going after Chuck and only does so to keep some machines from finding him. So he crawls through the air duct, and when Chuck startles him, he screams and falls into Snively. Fortunately, Snively assumes that Antoine was the spy when he shows up. Okay, so that's helpful. He was trained as a squire, apparently. I thought he was a royal guard. Is that apparently the same thing? And Snively figures out his weakness. So this is when Snively's idea of torturing Antoine is to make Escort go with margarine instead of butter, right?
Escort go! Margarine!
That is so forcedly kid-friendly. Because there's no way this would be all that Snively would do to torture a person. All he's doing is cooking French cuisine incorrectly, and even that makes Antoine lose his mind. I mean, he's such a nervous wreck. There's no way this is all an evil villain like Snively would do to him. He'd at least punch him a bunch of times. He's totally helpless. This feels like such pointless filler. I feel like they could completely cut out all of Antoine's scenes, all of Antoine's focus, and it'd be a much better show. Right after he says he'll tell Snively everything, Sonic saves them, and Antoine calls him stupid, and complains some more about what Snively just did. Sonic really should have slapped him for daring to call him stupid right after he saved the life of someone who just said he'd tell his enemy everything. Why is it the comic, where Antoine's not so bad, where he's treated the worst? You know, I've had nothing but complaints about this episode. Maybe it's not really that good. After Chuck gets captured to lose his free will, I assume, Antoine is put in Dulcie's pouch, and Dulcie tells him not to talk. If only he'd follow that advice. If only he'd have duct tape over him. Why don't they have that? Rotor should have that in his tool belt. Snively then tells Robotnik that Chuck is the spy. Well, so much for any sort of usefulness that Antoine had. There was hope that Snively would assume he was the spy, but no. I thought he lost his free will, but it said he was only temporarily brainwashed to be more susceptible to telling Robotnik the truth. I guess Robotnik doesn't have the technology to get rid of his free will for good somehow, even though he was able to do it just fine in the comic. It would have succeeded if the Neuro Overrider wasn't in him. I don't know why Rotor can't make Neuro Overriders in the show, too. But yeah, Chuck is rescued since Sonic makes a tornado, and he reveals that he's anticipated Robotnik figuring him out, and he goes to his new home. Chuck actually thinks it's okay to prank the heroes by going in an old robot of Robotnik's and talking to them. That's not funny. The heroes all hug him, as they're naturally unhappy that despite Chuck's cover being blown, he's still insisting on staying in Robotropolis instead of going to Knothole. So I guess in the next episode when he'll lose his free will then? I could have sworn that I saw a clip of an old Sonic cartoon where Sonic saw Uncle Chuck getting roboticized or losing his free will. Maybe that was in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog instead? Or maybe I just didn't realize it was in the Blast of the Past episode? This episode is about the heroes' success causing Robotnik to figure out he has a spy way too late, considering he should have had cameras all over Robotropolis. He finds Chuck's bug and figures out he's the spy. Surprisingly, it doesn't end with him losing his free will like I would expect from Robotnik. Instead, Sonic is lucky enough to save him. It feels like this plot isn't that great. It's frustrating that Antoine didn't keep Chuck from blowing his cover, and Rotor and Dulcie actually relied on him of all people. I thought maybe Snively would drop the spy thing because he thought Antoine was the spy, but no, of course not. That let Antoine be useful. It was smart of Chuck to anticipate being caught and make a home for himself, but it probably wasn't smart of him to insist on staying in Robotropolis where he could get caught when his cover has been blown, so his usefulness is greatly hampered by that. You'd think he'd be found by the flying cameras eventually. Also, you'd think that since his cover was blown, Robotnik would put a tracking device in him, just in case he went to Knothole. That would have explained Robotnik finding Knothole before he should 50 better.